Do you remember the internet in 2010? The internet was a very boring place. Everywhere we used to see these good morning and good night messages, and people used to poke each other on Facebook for fun. It sounds weird now, but we all did it. But things changed in 2013 and 14. We started seeing these everywhere on social media. The college kids started expressing their views, jokes and sarcasm through memes. This is when two college students, Prabkiran Singh and Siddharth Munot, noticed something. They realized t-shirt wasn't just a piece of cloth anymore. It was a status update. So in 2012, they launched India's first pop brand with just 30,000 rupees. They ignored the big malls and fancy showrooms and bet on quirky designs and college students of India. For 8 years, it worked perfectly. Bewakoof was one of the first brands to build a massive online fashion business. They clocked a revenue of more than 200 crores in 2020. But things started going south after COVID-19. New players like Soulstore and Snitch scaled very fast, but Bewakoof struggled. Today, every other D2C brand is valued at thousands of crores, but Bewakoof was sold for just 200 crore rupees. So what went wrong? How did the brand that taught India how to be cool suddenly lose its own cool factor? This is Kunal and you are watching Case in Point. Back in 2012, college kids had to spend 1000 to 2000 rupees on a t-shirt to look cool and fashionable. If you were on a budget, you had to settle for those boring plain t-shirts from the local market. There was nothing in between. This is where Prabkiran Singh and Siddharth Munot saw an opportunity. They realized Indian youth didn't want luxury, they wanted self-expression. They wanted clothes that spoke their language, memes, college slangs and Bollywood references. But how do you make people trust a brand they have never heard of? You start by relating with them. Most companies launch with a flashy commercial and press release. But Bewakoof launched on April Fool's Day. By choosing that name and that date, they created an instant psychological bond with the college students. It's like they were part of the same generation who understood the culture and not some big brand with a huge marketing budget. This wasn't just a marketing gimmick. It was a masterstroke in brand identity. They turned a negative word into something really cool. Other big brands were busy fighting for the rich customers in South Bombay and South Delhi. Bewakoof was targeting the India B. They wanted to tap into the mass market of aspirational youth of Indore, Jaipur and Lucknow. This generation just started getting smartphones and exploring global pop culture, but they didn't have access to the streetwear. Bewakoof gave them the cool vibe for just 400 rupees. Bewakoof used an online first strategy before it was even a trend and sold directly to consumers and used Facebook. They knew their audience wasn't shopping in fancy malls. They're scrolling on their phones during the college lectures. This strategy worked. At that time, the traditional retail brands were struggling to grow, but Bewakoof was growing at 15 to 20% every month and sales quadrupled every year. They took a tiny investment of just 30,000 and scaled into a massive 200 crore online fashion brand. Bewakoof didn't just sell t-shirts. They built a community of millions who felt like the brand actually understood them. For a decade, Bewakoof was untouchable, but things started to change after 2020. Being the first person to enter the business doesn't always guarantee success. This is called the pioneer's trap. You build the market, you educate the customers, and when things get bigger, faster players walk in and steal your throne. But for Bewakoof, the first red flag wasn't the competition, it was the product itself. The early users of Bewakoof loved the brand for its quality, but when the company tried to scale to that massive target of 500 crores, things became difficult. If you look at the data from 2025, Bewakoof had a 25% sales return rate, which is above the industry standard of 20%. That means for every 4 t-shirts they shipped, 1 came back. Customers started complaining about the fabric quality and fading prints after just 1 wash, and the delivery took weeks. On platforms like Trustpilot and Mouthshut, the brand was now being called a scam. While Bewakoof was struggling with its quality, new players started emerging in the market. First, there was Soulstore. They realized that quirky wasn't enough. You needed some moat. So they bet on intellectual property. Soulstore didn't just sell funny quotes. They sold Marvel, Disney and Harry Potter's licensed products. They built a fandom, and today they are clocking a revenue of more than 365 crores and they are profitable. Then came Snitch. Snitch was playing the fast fashion game. They can take a design from Instagram to consumers in just 10 to 15 days. Snitch became the Zara of India. By 2025, Snitch hit a massive revenue of 520 crores. That's almost 3 times the size of Bewakoof. But the biggest reason for the failure isn't just data, it's relevance. Bewakoof stayed the same while the world changed. In 2012, millennials wanted funny slogans and memes, but in 2025, Gen Z wanted the aesthetics. They want quiet luxury, sustainable fabric and streetwear vibes. Bewakoof stayed cheap and funny while the audience grew up and wanted premium and cool. Bewakoof failed to evolve with the new Indian shopper and missed the premiumization wave. When lockdown hit, the fashion demand crashed and Bewakoof's revenue went to zero. The founders saw the demand for the essential products like masks and sanitizers. So they converted manufacturing lines into making quirky face masks. Because of this quick decision, Bewakoof made a revenue of 127 crores in 2021. But in 2022, Bewakoof did about 160 crores in revenue but spent more than 220 crores. High return rates, rising logistics, and they had to spend more on marketing because of new competition. The company was burning cash. Bewakoof was a big brand with weak unit economics. The founders realized they needed deep pockets to sustain. So in November 2022, Bewakoof was sold to Aditya Birla's Tomorrow for 200 crores. On paper, this was a dream deal. Tomorrow had the massive supply chain of Aditya Birla, better sourcing, and offline reach. And in return, Bewakoof gave them an instantly recognizable youth brand with a big online customer base. The CEO of Tomorrow said they would scale Bewakoof to over 500 crores in just 2 years. But Bewakoof didn't explode. Its revenue got stuck at around 170 crores while losses stayed at 70 to 100 crore range. Startups thrive on chaos, fast decision, and taking crazy risks. But big corporations work on SOPs, processes, and unit economics. Suddenly, the same team that was once focused only on viral memes now had to answer to board meetings, Excel sheets, and margin dashboards. And their numbers were not good. Instead of hitting that 500 crore mark, Bewakoof's revenue actually dipped to 147 crores in FY 2023 and only recovered slightly to 173 crores in 2025. They are barely growing in a market where online fashion is exploding. The company is still bleeding. In 2025, Bewakoof reported a loss of around 73 crores, and on a unit level, it spent about 1.43 rupees to earn every 1 rupee of revenue. They tried to cut costs. Employee expenses were slashed by around 40% and overall spending came down. But in fashion, if you stop shouting, people quickly forget that you exist. On paper, Bewakoof is part of Aditya Birla's next-gen fashion portfolio. But other brands like Nobero and Wrong are getting aggressive marketing, new stores, and riding India's premium activewear boom. At the end of the day, Bewakoof is a legendary brand. They proved that you could build an online fashion empire from a small investment of 30,000. But in the hyper-competitive world of 2026, nostalgia isn't enough to pay the bills. So, what do you think? Can Tomorrow actually save Bewakoof and hit that 500 crore target? Or is the brand soul already gone? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you learned something, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to Case in Point for more such content. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.